everyone. This is a new day. Welcome. My name is Priscilla Nyenator, and I have with me today on a new day, um, strong, hardworking women of Liberia, and I'm going to introduce them, but I may not do justice to them because most of the ladies or all of them that I receive their bio, they are people with who have track record of doing enormous great deeds in the nation of Liberia. So anyway, I'm going to just go ahead and read what I have here, but then I will invite them to just say a little more about themselves. So I have Patience Cotier. Patience is a social justice activist. She has been active in advocating against injustice with a focus on gender inequality. uh, Women human rights defender, and she's one of the organizers of the 3-day rape protest in 2022. Welcome on Focus on Liberia, Miss Patience Gauthier. And we also have Miss Cecilia Danawili. She's a gender expert analyst for National Center for the Coordination of Response Mechanism. She's a pastor, a peace builder, an activist, women rights defender, and advocate, mother of 6 children. She has an NPA from Cottington Graduate School of Professional Studies, and she believes in social justice. Welcome to Focus on Liberia today, Madam Cecilia Danoweli. And we also have Miss Facia. Uh, she's a paramount young women initiative member of Liberian Feminist Forum, Technical Working Forum. She's been in women's rights advocate for over 10 years. And she's an international women of courage awardee. She's a lawyer, she's a feminist, she's an activist, she's a journalist. Welcome to Focus on Liberia, Miss Farcia. And we also have with us Auntie Vaba Flomo. She's an expert in women, peace, and security, working with women at a community level. Um, Welcome to Focus on Liberia, Auntie Vaba Flomo. Um, so yeah, these are the voices that we're going to be, and of course, we have our organizer who was here with us last time, Miss Asha Kamara. Welcome back, Miss Asha Kamara on Focus on Liberia. And the program is a new day. I'm going to give us a little grounding because I don't, and I'm not talking to you, my panelists, I'm talking to the audience. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to give you a little grounding. This platform is talking about issues that affect women adversely in disproportionate way. So please, we're not going to be responding to who won the elections or who's leading in a football match. We want you to please listen and participate so that together we can all usher in a new day for the next generation. Thank you for joining us and stay with us, please. Welcome, all of you. So, our conversation today is on building a strong women movement in digital age. Building a strong women movement in digital age. Um, Reflecting on organizing, movement building, information sharing, and leadership utilizing technology. So, who wants to go first? Auntie Vaba, when you are talking about building a strong women movement in digital age, what is it that what does that mean? What are you trying to achieve? Do you want to take that, or Patience, you want to take that? One of you can respond to it. It is we don't have to go in order. Is anyone there? Hello?
Y- Can you hear me, Sare? Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. The network is terrible, but I hope you can hear me. If there's no one else speaking, then I can try to, give an input before I go off the line again.
Go ahead, Miss Facia.
All right, so again, I think this is a brilliant conversation. And as a member of different organizing in the women movement, I think it's very important. Technology is a very important tool that we have in this current dispensation to be used to the advantage of building a strong women's movement, because when you look back at the challenges the women before us had, the struggle that they had to go through to get the messages across, and when you look at the way technology is fast growing and the different tools, the different apps that are available, I think it's more as a positive step towards building a strong women's movement, though there are new and emerging challenges that we'll have to cope with as we go along. But I think and believe that over the past year, with the growing wave of technology, is a plus for the women's movement, because movement building is about you getting a group of people to believe in a cause, to understand the issue, and be able to communicate the change for what you want. And when you look at technology, especially social media, we have Facebook, we have WhatsApp, which in our context, those I think are the widely used platforms that we have. And we see a lot happening with Twitter nowadays, and even LinkedIn. But with WhatsApp and Facebook, I think the women movement has been able to get some messages across, building new connections and understanding around some of the issues that we continue to fight for. So it's a tool, it's useful, and I think once we have the needed resources, we have the knowledge to be able to navigate those platforms, we can be able to mitigate the challenges at the same time, get the messages across, get the change, people to believe in the change that we are fighting for, and you have more people owning the process, and you have this growth that is ongoing, the whole link between the different generations, and or you see that happening within the growing wave of technology. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. Thank you. Um, Technology indeed enables access to information and amplifies and expand the work of development in any form. But in this case, the issue of women and women movement. So thank you for that response. Did anyone want to add something to what Ms. Fasia just said?
Yes, Facia, what I want to add to it, I would say technology is very powerful in building women's movement. So let me just take us back a little bit. During 2002, when we decided to build this women's movement, we call it Liberal Women Mass Action for Peace. We struggle a lot to get one message across to the women, right? So if we, without technology, the resources you're going to spend is going to be more. The time you're going to spend more time. But with technology, it just in the token of the eye. You get a message to the people you want to get a message to, and then with little amount of resources used, but you get the number of people you want. That was one of our struggle, that we needed to move from one point to another point. Like we wanted the women in Totota to get a message. We didn't have the means to um, communicate with them. We took taxi or bus from here to go to Total Task. So just imagine the time in between. So what if the women immediately needed to respond to some action? So the time, so but living now in this um, age of technology. Just 1 minute is in a chat room. Every organization like a chat room, that's really helping the women to go to the next level. That's why I wanted to say thank you.
Oh, that's amazing. Um, every women group now has a chat room. That's so awesome. So yeah, thank you, Auntie Vaba, for adding that aspect. Because my next question was going to be, to what extent, priority, to what extent has we been effective? Have we been effective in using technology in a Liberian context? And then forgive me if I'm sounding out of touch. but but yeah, that was one of the questions, and the other one was going to be, do everyone have cell phone, especially um well, at the grassroots level? And the cell phone is not going to be ordinary cell phone, but smartphone. You need that to get on the internet. So yeah, that was going to be another question. So even though you just responded, but does that mean that so everyone, or will far reaching when it comes to access to technology, in terms of people affording cell phones that have that would need require internet features in order to be able to connect? Is that something that is accessible easily?
So,
Okay, let me comment to that. Like Fasia and uh, I'm trying to get the other person's name. Intifaba, right?
Uh,
Sorry.
yeah.
yes, Auntie
Okay,
Vava,
so like the both of them have mentioned how technology has changed the narrative when it comes to building women movement. Uh, there are a lot of challenges, although technology has actually shifted the way we build our movement these days and share information, come together, build stronger network. There are lots and lots of challenges, especially in our Liberian setting. Uh, the first thing we want to look at is the digital gap between the males and females. A lot of women are lagging behind. Of course, it's always the issue. We kind of these things kind of affect us, but yet and still, there are a lot of women, especially young women, that are out there on the social media. Whenever these movements are being built, they reach out. They since they are have access to technology, they also reach out to some other women in the communities. And there are also issue of high cost when it comes to data charges in Liberia. The charges have gone up very expensive. We struggle with network, but regardless of all of these challenges, uh, there are women out there that are still building this movement, striving. Whenever they get the information, they go down to the community and they share this information. And trust me, the digital world has actually shifted and changed everything. Before, I mean, it has added speed when it comes to building women movement. Before you come, within a twinkle of an eye, you pick it up on Twitter, and then everybody is moving with that particular thing. I just want to uh, relate this to the 3 days rape protest that we were able to organize, and there were a lot of other groups that were also organizing this, trying to mobilize and be able to reach out to the government and stand up against the Scotch rape. But we were able to use the technology space, the digital space rather, to be able to collectively come together and select a special day that we can work, we can move out there and be able to amplify our voices. So within a short space of time, we were able to get to the likes of Asia, we were able to get to Brenda Moore, we were able to get to Niswa, and all of these people started reaching out from different groups, and we started to say, we can do this separately. We need to come together, and that's why that particular movement and that particular day, the 3 day road protest, that particular protest actually it was successful because we're able to use the digital space to collectively come together and be able to amplify our voices. So that's what I said previously. It has added speed to building with women movement, regardless of all of the challenges.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you. Okay. Thank you, Patience. Maybe I missed this part. But can you go back to? I'm a little unsure about. No, first, I want to acknowledge that. Yeah, I agree with you that the use of technology expands the women movement, and like again, like we all seem to be saying the same thing, expands on developmental initiative and all of that. I'm just not sure, and again, maybe I'm out of touch. I'm just not sure how we connect that with the the older generation who are not tech savvy, who I'm thinking do not have access to telephone at the the grassroots level in the rural areas. And I know you mentioned the young women share with them. I just wasn't sure how did they share with them. What are some of the methods you use to be sure that because we're going to come to the point about intergenerational dialogue. So I just want to know, how do we bridge that gap? How have you been bridging the gap from people who have access to telephone or cell phone and my grandmother in Backleyville?
okay, so we work with outside of us being building movement on the internet. We also work within communities. We work largely with the communities. So when we building movements like this, we reach out to the communities and engage. So there where we have this dialogue with people in the community that are even not on the internet. So outside of the digital space, we also build movements in our different communities and work largely with people there.
Okay. So no one is, so it sounds like we're making sure that no one is being left behind. Like, we're not speeding with technology, which is great, but at the same time we're not disadvantaging other women or leaving others behind. I just wanted us to make that point.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Uh who has left us anyway? We also said we were going to talk about intergenerational dialogue. So the last time Asha and Noi were on here, they mentioned mentoring, and I think it's good. Uh, but then at the same times, I was thinking we didn't have the time to go into that. Uh, Hopefully, we someone can say something about this. Um, from studies that I have come across, mentoring can be good, but then what is much more effective from data that emerging is that share equal participation is much more effective when it comes to intergenerational dialogue as compared to mentoring, where, uh, yes, the older generation, they may have experience and they lay the ground for now generation. Uh, but there is a need now, there is a much more urgent need for now generation to say, we don't want to negotiate, we don't want to work with the patriarchy, we don't want to negotiate with the patriarchy, we don't want to bargain with the patriarchy, we don't want to work within the same framework of the patriarchy and just maneuver. uh, we want the patriarchy to be completely gone, so we can make use I'm sorry. We can make use of we can work together, the older generation and the now generation, but we prefer to do it in a way that we are heard and we are not told what to do. Is that something that we're considering as this women movement group? Is this something that we're considering? Or do I have mentoring been much more effective for us?
So mentoring, I want us to go back before. Am I clear?
I'm sorry.
Can,
Go
can I
ahead,
go
go ahead.
ahead?
Go ahead, go
So
ahead.
okay, so let's talk about mentoring in our Liberian context, but let's even go back a bit before the war. So how was mentoring like? Who were those women that the younger women look up to in terms of leading the way? We used to have somebody called the grandmother. Grandmother in the community was like the eye for every mother. When the mother went out, grandmother took over the quarter. So where are the grandmothers? Where are they right now? So then let's come now when we say mentoring. Mentoring is a teamwork, as a team play. It's not about advancing, it's about team play. What that quality, what that trust. And one of the things again we should look at in mentoring, if I'm the mentor, what do I see in this mentee? What is, I shouldn't just see her as somebody weak, as I should first see her as someone that has strength. And then we move into the mentoring. So even right now in my community, we try to do this mentoring program. So the way we're doing it is we got we got it by ages. So from 18 to like 22, 25, we got that group. So from 25 to like 35, we got that group. And then the upward. So three different groups. Because we know each different got some problem also. So when it comes from up and is going down like that, then of course we think we're moving somewhere. So mentoring is not about advancing, mentoring is not about scholarship, mentoring is a teamwork that we all need to work together. While you growing, me too, I'm growing. And while you in mentoring, it's not just the mentor that is learning. The mentor also is learning and moving to another stage. So let's look at mentor in our space and then we can move on. Thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that clarification. Is anyone else had another perspective, or is that what holds for you um, as your partner in this women movement? Everyone is
Um,
there.
Let me come in. This is Aisha.
Go ahead, Asha.
So that has been a conversation of late in terms of having conversation around intergenerational, bridging the gap to say we don't have a formalized way to do it or been doing it. We have been looking at it from a perspective of, as Inde Vaba said, older people who were there before us. That's how we have been looking at it. So we have this strong woman that we look up to. When there's, for example, when we have this Facebook. So Asha puts something, and sometimes it comes back as back and forth. There's online violence. We also have this one person that we refer to say how do we unpack or how do we analyze, how do we respond to XYZ. So it's not been a formalized, and that's one of the conversation within the Liberian Feminist Forum right now in other women groups. how do we make use of this rich knowledge that happened before we came, even though they didn't have cell phone, there was no Twitter, there was no WhatsApp, but also there was a rich engagement. They made marks. If Abbas mentioned about the Mumi mass action, yeah, at that time there was cell phone, and cell phone just started coming in one day. It was very expensive to get one SIM card. I think it was like $65. So, but the engagement that they had a very good, a rich information, and those lessons are what we want to learn. At the same time, is somehow challenging. Like you said, we want to take action now. We don't want to bargain. We don't want to say, okay, yeah, we are going to pacify and those who are in power, but how can we use the two energy, their energy, they still have energy, and how can we use the younger generation, how can we use our energy and bring together so that it is rich and we are able to smash patriarchy, as we can say it. But it's something that we really want to focus on, because our older generation are fading away. If you look in Liberia for the past 2 3 years, we've lost great women. We've lost great women, and we feel that knowledge it wasn't passed down. For example, we have Phyllis Kimber. Phyllis Kimber was one of the women who stood against FGM. So in terms of passing that knowledge, and she had organic way, or her movement it was unique in a way that everyone will listen to her. When she goes to the parliament to talk, everyone will listen to her. In terms of passing that knowledge down, as our young women's were activists and feminists, I don't think that was done. So we want to seize this moment now and tap into what the older generation, I mean, they have rich things that we can pick up on. So we haven't had like a formal mentoring program. It's something that we want to do. That's why we are having the conversation now.
Okay. Um, so you have been organizing through different social media rooms, correct? Um, and then besides the march against rape, which was effective, I think because uh, um, I believe it was because at least it got the government to declare the situation an emergency, something emergency. Whether they keep up to that, whether they acted on that is another thing. But I think it was effective on the organizing that year did. Besides, and since then, every now and then I follow and see that women mobilize support for each other. Like recently, that was the case with the former Chief Justice who lost her daughter. Um, but when it comes to outside of other order means that you want to strengthen this movement, and if there are other best practices, because I know part of the notes that you share was that you're discussing or you want to discuss best practices, or have you identified best practices, or do you want to? Mhm.
So if you say best practice, so in advocacy, I'm like, what is that best practice? What is that? Because we're not just advocating for the same issue. There are different issues that we're going for. So in terms of like what happened to the former Chief Justice, that was quite different. And maybe I could be beaten by my husband, even though it will not be, but it could be. So what is that advocacy? So the lesson learned for me is what we're talking about, where we got the mentoring program, where we got a different energy and breaking it together to make that strong movement, and then Like for example, in terms of like what happened to the chief justice, we have who we have at the front. I think that's one of the best practice we're doing here. One of the best practices where once it happened in terms of anything legal, the female lawyer take the lead. Anything community based, like anything hammering our peace, that what happening right now, if we wanted to take any action, then the Women in Peace Building Network or the Community Women Peace Building initiatives will take on the lead. Then I will say to that, yes, that is the best practice for me, where we go by institution leading based on that particular issue we advocating for. That's what I wanted to say.
So your institution, thank you, Intervaba. So your institution or your organization brings what to this women movement?
So we call our institution is the Community Women Peace Initiative. That's just some community-based women organize themselves to go after those issues at the community level that may not be seen as national issue, right? Because those small issues can tend to be national issues. So the Community Women in Peace Initiative take on those kind of small issues.
What are some
Uh,
of those issues?
Okay, for example, like this girl got pregnant and a little child, he living with somebody, he impregnated this girl, and then when it came to the pregnancy, he said, no, I'm not the one, not the one. And then that kind of conflict came about between the two families, and then they brought it to us. Then we intervene. In the end, the boy said, yes, I was the one, but was afraid. And then we take him to this family and sit with them and say, look, this can happen, but it shouldn't be the end of his life. Maybe they get parents too will say, you pregnant, you have to go stay with the man that impregnated you. We say no, you can't do that. So let's try to prevent even her future being damaged. So this kind of thing with you. But in terms of like rape, no, the Community with Peace Initiative cannot handle that. Then of course we now send it to the, like, we call Wongozo, the women NGO Sakitara. We say this is what happening. Can you please pick up the case? And then that level is by stages, right? We don't belong at that level. And then we give it to Wongozo. Wongozo maybe will reach it to who the responsible organization. So that's one of the best practices I think the Liberian women using in Liberia. Thank you.
Networking like that. Okay, thank you. Yeah, that
Exactly.
makes sense. Thank you. Um, Patience, your organization, what do you bring to the women movement? What does your organization do? Did we lose her? Miss Facia, it sounds like you belong to multiple organizations. Women feminist movement, and there was another one with the youth. Um, so which one you prefer to share with us, or if you want to share with us from both ends, what do your organizations bring to the women movement, the networking effort that you're making as women movement? We
I think
lost
Fatia, yeah, Fatia is also.
okay, Asha, your organization, the other time you told us about your organization, but at the same time you say you also are with the women feminist movement.
So I'm currently with the Library Feminist Forum and also a member of the Women Human Rights Defenders Network.
Okay, so how are they different?
So the women human rights, so they are different. I can be a women's rights activist, but I am not a feminist because being a feminist require you to sign up to different things. No ifs, no buts, no however. But I can be a strong women's rights activist, and I don't believe in certain. For example, I could be defending certain rights and still don't believe in defending certain rights. So, for example, I know one of the issues I've been advocating against safe abortion or legal abortion. There are other women's rights activists or women rights defenders that are not comfortable having those conversations. So it's easy for me to say I do a rape campaign than for me to do an anti-abortion campaign. So from the feminist forum, we do identify with all vulnerable groups of people, and we believe that everyone is equal and should be treated fairly. Our work we do, we don't have ifs, no buts, no however. Full stop. We are feminists. We are feminists. So what the feminist forum try to bring to the space is to provide that conceptual clarity around what feminism is. I know we are all doing women's rights work. We're all doing work at the grassroots, at the national level. But how is it like? How are we shaping our campaign in terms of the different messages that we have out there? One way is we look at everyone, like no leaving no one behind. If we say we are doing women's rights work, and I will give this example. I used to work for ActionAid, and before, when we say, okay, well, how women and girls work, we did a lot of work around women and girls. When we shifted to intersectional feminist approach, we looked beyond women and girls. What are other vulnerable groups? So even within the women and girls, there are other groups, there are other categories. So one woman could carry multiple identity, and those different identities could make her vulnerable in some way. In some ways, I could be a single mother, uneducated. I could be a single mother and very educated. So the difference between a single mother that is educated and a single mother that is not educated, the vulnerability levels are different. So if we are responding and designing your programs, you have that at the back of your mind. There's difference between a single mother that lives in Mama Point and there's a single mother that lives in West Point or Newtown. So that's how we look at it. And we also look at there are other vulnerable groups that people are also not looking at. They are human beings, they are women. And we pick up all those issues, leaving no one behind, leaving none of those issues behind. So the Feminist Forum, over the years, I've been working with different women groups, individuals, to first unpack feminism, because most of the time we feminists are people look at us as the rude women, the nasty women, the divorced women who don't respect their husbands or their home. So we try to provide that clarity, unpack feminism, and say no, it's not that way. We are just standing up for the rights of everyone, and we say we are not fighting men, we are fighting a system, the patriarchal system, and enable all of these things to happen. That's the system we are fighting, not individuals. Over the years, that's why we have been working around for the women human rights defenders. We are our focus mainly has been around protection.
For women,
Um,
yes. For women.
yeah, for women human rights, yeah, women human rights defenders and stuff. So over the years, women human rights defenders are attacked for different reasons. Just because we're also doing the same women's rights work, sometimes we are to get attacked. And in Liberia, currently we do not have that structural protection mechanism for even human rights defenders. Talk more of women human rights defenders. So what a network is trying to do first is to bring women human rights defenders together, have this space where we can interact and generate issues that affect us, but then take collective action. I know one thing that we have been really focusing on is our own safety and security. So we look at a security issue from different perspectives, not just having a secure door or a secure window, but also looking at it from the well-being perspective. So we do all of the work, we come home, we also have to take care of the home, that multiple role that we play. But at the same time, people expect whenever something happens, oh, where are the women? Where are the women more defenders? But we also sometimes we get brain out. we get stressed out, which us and that affects our ability to like respond in a way we should respond. Sometimes when the issues come up, especially when there was increase in rape cases of late, it's really frustrating because you know that you've done extremely well in terms of putting in the system and structure. So over the years, Labora actually worked. I mean, we've done a lot of work, the government, the partners. I've done a lot of engagement when it comes to sexual violence. We have policies, we have laws, we have structures. So why is this still happening? So sometimes it's frustrating when you hear some of the, and then you get stressed. But how do you balance that at the same time you're going to respond? So it's a network we established not too long, but then we our main focus is around protection. How do we bring visibility to women human rights defenders? How do we even make women to know or recognize that they are women human rights defenders? In a way, but sometimes you are doing all of these things, you don't even know that. Okay, I'm a women human rights defender. So we bring visibility to the women, especially at the grassroots level, coming to the national level. Yeah, and we are currently there is a policy that is being reviewed for protection for human rights defenders. We have been contributing to that because it's also effective. It will we will need it as women human rights defenders.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Asha. I just learned something from you. So, but thank you for I think that that exhaustive. I can refer to it as that response. So, in essence, the women, Liberal Women Forum, Feminist Forum, um, covers intersectional issues, and then the women human rights defenders only focus on women human rights issues. But the difference that you just explained, I wasn't aware. So, uh, um, thank you for that. Um, Miss Patience, are you back? Miss Facia, are you there? Okay, so now that you decide to come out like this, and a new day is a platform where we want to have this kind of conversation. So I think it's a great initiative to partner together. Um, what is the end goal? Like, what do you want to achieve? Are you trying to reach out to women organizations in the diaspora, or still mobilizing on the ground and saying, hey, well, yeah, I know you mentioned that one of it will be educating, because sometimes we're doing defending work, and as women human right, as a woman, we're not even aware. So one could say that is one of the angles of this process conversation we're having now. Uh, so on top of that, what are some of the results we're trying to see as we have these engagements and conversations going forward? Auntie Vaba, um, you want to take that and respond to that?
So for me, the Liberian Feminist Forum, I see it as that space. I mean, let's come back to again our country where it's so the way it is, and then the Liberian Feminist Forums coming to create that space that will allow, regardless of your sexuality, but to just talk. I mean, you can see someone in that space as your sister. You can see someone in that space as that person you trust. with your story. I think it's a plus. It's one of the things that are hammocking us as women. Sometimes we have this story, we got our stories, and the story is bringing us all. But where can I go to say this is me? Where can I go with my true story? Not even adding lies to it. So, and this space is the Liberian Feminist Forum that has created a space that will allow you to come in with your whole self. This is me. I think I think it's one of the biggest thing I've ever seen, regardless of who you are. But just looking at that human, just looking at you in that space, and then coming up and say, look, this is how I'm looking. This is how I've been treated. This is how, because I'm this. And then somebody saying, hey, you my sister, no matter who you are, you my sister, and standing up for you. I think that's one of the best thing about it. I think patience is on, so let me give her some space.
Yeah, thank you, Auntie Vaba. Patience, good to have you back. Auntie Vaba, I wanted to say that story you share about the girl who got pregnant. I think that was such a um very good example for meaningful intervention at the community level. Otherwise, some girl who have remained a single mother without the support of the guy who and her supposed to be responsible for another human being that they produce together. And then those kind of things have played out in our society for a long time. After some years, and then you will see the guy will return, or the family, and you say child can lost, and then he start reaping from where he didn't sow, because emotionally he neglected a girl who he slept with to have a child. Financially, there is no support, morally, and just in every way. So I think that was an awesome intervention you did, and I really, and I admire that the women, you know, in different spaces and as different organizations are doing a lot more than we can properly articulate here. With time, we will have these kind of conversations and just share our success stories, our challenges as well, and together talk through issues to identify way to improve and way forward. So I wanted to say that about the example you share. Patience, we were asking your organization, what does your organization bring to this network of to form a Liberal women movement? What specifically do you do at your organization?
So, like I said, we from the angle of the young people, where we do all most of our work around women's rights when it comes to, especially when it comes to rape, sexual violence. We are there, and when these movements are being built, we provide support through mobilizing young people from the community, also getting them to own the process and also take lead. So we are a network of young people that work around issues of women's rights and child rights as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. Um, Let me read a few comments, and then Patience, I'll come back to you if you don't mind. If you want to share one or two sources, stories, I just feel that our audience need to hear, you know, the level of work that women organizations are doing, and why it's necessary to have these kind of conversations and to support the women movement, or and to also be a part. So I will come back to you if you don't mind. You want to think of an example or a case in point where there was something that you did. You don't have to share people's name if you don't to protect their privacy. But like Auntie Vaba shared this example, I think those are the kind of indicators to people out there to know that, yeah, they're doing something. We can join the women or this is how much the women are doing. How can we come in? Does that make sense? So I'll come back to you, patience. Let me just read a few comments. Says Mrs. Gallo say, Mrs. Cyril Conan Gallo say, on point, Asha. I think that was after Asha spoke. And others, lots being done. Exactly, but we need to do more at every levels, especially getting communities involved. I agree. I agree, and we could all always again. We will continue to talk and engage and identify ways to keep community involved if we're already involving them. So thank you, Mrs. Gallo, for that. Um, Miss Kotori says, someone is trying to come in here. Watching from Juba. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. Madam Cecilia Dunawilly say everyone wants to share their stories, but with who? Such a space needs to be created by a trusted sister. I agree. Um, I agree with you, Madam Cecilia Dunawilly, and I think that's why it's important that even within our networks that we also uh, um, you know we utilize we maximize what we have, the space we have to build trust. So yeah, I agree with you. I'm just going to share. I usually do not share because it's supposed to be a private group, but we have a new day have this private community on Facebook Messenger that been on for almost 2 years now, where people can safely share. Um, but yeah, the issue of trust is important because I get this people reaching out personally, and I'm like, can we share, in a space? That's why it was created. But sometimes people don't feel safe when other people are there. So yeah, so I know trust is important. um Somebody is trying to come in.
I think it's Fasia.
Oh, okay. um all right. I will have I will have Dennis let her in so that I don't disrupt the conversation. But kudos, ladies, for what is happening so far. Um, so someone else is watching. Someone else is watching. Yeah, yeah. Sharing information, sharing leadership, utilizing technology. Um, I'm thinking whether there is something that we haven't touched on, or something that we think needs to be discussed much more, especially when she's saying, anti-verbal, it is a matter of trust. Everyone, I already mentioned that my experience in with a new day community private group. uh, Oh, I was going to come back to Patience. Patience, do you want to share with us an example of what your organization can term a success story? One or two?
Uh, we've successfully engaged government, especially seeking for justice for victims or survivors of sexual violence. We can point to so many sources, but of late or of recent, we cannot ignore, or we cannot overemphasize the sources that came out of the 3 day rape protest.
Okay.
Of course, we We were not the only organization, but we were the founding members of that
Mm-hmm.
rape protest that led to the government reviewing the roadmap and also putting it, putting implementation to a start. And from that point, uh, we were able to see ourselves as young people, as successful in the era of activism, because that was a very very huge task. We we didn't believe that we could actually achieve what we saw. I mean, the host of Liberians from all social backgrounds coming together, people from all different walks of life. We even have foreigners in our midst. There was less work that day because offices were closed, businesses were closed down, and people were on the street. It was my first time
Yeah.
actually as an individual seeing Liberians raising their voices together, working together, and
Yeah.
then saying that this thing must end. Everyone out there that day was standing out for their child. Everyone out there that day was standing out for the child next to. Everyone out there that day was raising their voices and
Yeah.
calling on government to be able to, at least for once, answer us, because we have been engaging in several different times, providing sustainable solutions to this problem, telling them as young people we want to take lead, we want to own this process, we need your support, but not much was being done. They did not give us ears, but that day when women decided to join, when the other women decided to join, other women movements said we can do this collectively. I mean, it's a success that we cannot ignore. Each time we want to talk about women movement in Liberia, we always want to point out to that as a real success. And I mean, I've not done this, but I want to use this medium to thank every Liberian that came out that day. Some people were not able to come out, they went to work, but in solidarity, they were in their blacks. They provided water and everything. And that particular, uh, the way we came together, amplify our voices, move the government in such a way that we've not seen it being moved like that before. So, March for Justice, from where I am a part of, was again one of the organizing organizations leading. In fact, my friends that day they even asked me to lead. I made the opening statement, and we're so vigorously moving towards pushing and hearing our voices, pushing towards government hearing our voices and paying attention. So that's a success that we will always point to. That's a success we will always want uh, to give thanks to those that came out and provided support. So March for
Yeah.
Justice has been one of the youth movement for women's rights that has done extremely well and still doing well, especially in the communities.
Yeah, Patience, I agree with you. I think that that's a milestone. I totally agree. So thank you for sharing that. And reminding us of that. Some when you we need to remind ourselves. Sometimes it can be frustrating. Someone mentioned it and said, after we did all of the work, and then sometimes you hit this roadblock, or then some days it feels like, what are we doing? Like, we can do this, nothing has changed. Then we need to remind ourselves, no, we were able to do that. Recently, I was listening to this badass feminist, and then she was talking about how sometimes when she feels so down and frustrated, how she has to remind her. She said it has worked for her, talking about mind therapy. She always get reminded about when she gave birth at home, that her first child was in a hospital. She said, we take for granted. And Mrs. Gallo made reference to that the last time. She said, I had to, when I said that, to shut someone who was just saying, they kind of generalization, this kind of unfair, this kind of prejudice, the kind of stereotypes. Women are lazy, and then she was like, I had to tell you, if your mother was lazy, she would have killed you on the birth table. So it was interesting to hear this lady refer to that, and she was like, I give, we forget as women what we're capable of doing. And I gave birth to my first child and went through what we go through in the hospital, even though we know our bodies and what we're capable of doing. But then the doctor becomes the expert that know it all, that should tell you what to do. But then my second, I gave birth to at home. And so she shared the experience, and she said, so for the last, and all her children are out now, out of college and out of home. And she said, I'm living my best life. My children are grown. But for some reason, giving birth to a second child has stuck with her. And over the years, I helped her through her dark days, when she depressed with different things she's gone through. She said, kept I can be reminded that I can do this. I can get through this. I was able to give birth to a full human being at home by myself. So I can get through this point, when she lost her second husband to suicide, and she was depressed and a lot of other issues. And she said, I get reminded of that time, and it helps me get strengthened emotionally and mentally. So, to patients, point she shared about making reference to how they were able to mobilize and other women joined in, and we made that achievement in Liberia. I think that's something that we cannot overemphasize. Let me read. Miss Facia has something here. She says, one of the challenges, she says, movement. Oh, she's back. Miss Facia, are you back? I see you up there. Movement building in this digital age is an add advantage to building stronger movement, embracing our diversities. But we need to invest in access to technology across boundaries. Yeah, ensuring that no one is left behind. I agree. I agree. We need to do that. But then she identified a challenge. One of the challenges is safeguarding against misinformation. That's true. Safeguarding against misinformation. Who wants to take this? Who wants to say something about this? I mean, I can go. I just rather you do the sharing. But I agree with Ms. Facia. One of the challenges is safeguarding against misinformation. So, uh, um, we know that's one of the ways misogyny and sexism plays are online. Talking about violence against women, and Aisha mentioned that when she was last year, and Miss No. So violence against women happen everywhere, even online as well. And one of the ways is weaponizing misinformation. I was reading about this, human rights and politicians from, it's a Pakistan or somewhere, where the opposition use of fake video on sex video and put it out there with her image. So um misinformation is a serious issue, and we had a conversation like that on this platform before with an expert, and then but the good thing is that big international bodies are still trying to are still talking with platforms owners like Facebook, big platforms, CEOs like Facebook, Google, Twitter, um, to be able to put safeguard measures, and government to be able to put policies into place so that misogyny can be a crime. And the last time, I don't remember the state, but I was reading somewhere, and I think a few states here now in this country has made a in one of my women groups that are in and the women were rejoicing has made misogyny a crime, you know. So because misogyny and sexism is it's just to shut women up and take them out of the digital space. So I agree with Ms. Farsia that one of the challenges is safeguarding against misinformation. I was going to ask Asha, mm, and I'm not trying to put this on you if this is not something that the women feminist forum I started looking into. But as part of our conversations, we all can talk about it and try to consider whether we can start working in that area. I know a new day does that um, in our own little ways. Are we working with women in a community, not necessarily part of any organized group, but our friends, or how are we thinking about engaging women and girls and sisters, whether in the church, whether at the mosque, or whether just by scrolling on social media, um, in order to be able to encourage change in mind and attitude when it comes to women and girls, because that's what our new day tries to do. Hey, let's think about investigate this thinking that you hold, investigate this perception that you hold. Why do you think this way? I'm asking this to say that most of us have internalized the patriarchy, and so we breathe misogyny. Not only men, we breathe sexism. Example is you get online or you get on Facebook and you see uh, most of the attacks on other women are trying to brave to do something. Most of the attacks against them are girls and women. Like, people, I don't know, people just internalize it or just want to be cool with the guys. Um, a few years ago, I wrote an article because I was, I don't know how to, but I was listening to Miss Cooper, Mandela Cooper. I'm not a supporter of Mandela Cooper. I'm not a supporter of any politician. But I was watching a debate and I'm reading the comments, and people were like, look at her makeup and look at her voice sounding like man. And they were saying all these really unflattering things about her faith, about how she looked, about her personal relationship. And most of the people I flagged were, you know, us. And then it can be just disturbing. I'm just sharing it to say, I don't know whether we're looking in one on one or having community discussion, conversation where we can challenge ourselves. Hey, why do you think like this? Why, when something like this happens, why does your mind go first to attacking a woman? Um, so that people can start examining the way we all think of ourselves as women, because it may be against me, but you are girl as well. So in other words, you're attacking yourself as well. Just recently, I'm going to share this last one, and then I'll give you, I'll shut up. Just recently, it was last week, on this actor, Frank O'Toole's, and the wife, Prima O'Toole, if that's her name. But there was a post about with both of them, and she's doing work with women and girls. From what I read, that was what I even stopped. And I started looking at the post, and like all of us would do, I started admiring her dress. Say, wow, I love that dress. Before I like, yeah, pay attention to what this thing is. Then I read, when I read, they launched a program for women and girls. And the comments was saying, oh, congratulations, and so so and so. All the comments was they were just so unflattering, and they were just attacking her, until Frank O'Toole's the husband had to make a comment on that to shut people down. And I went on there and I like, it's just disappointing that bulk of the people who attacking this lady is a very demographic that she's working for. So my question is, Are we thinking about, or have we been doing something like that? Is that something that we can do together? What you think? Yes, technology is good and it's bad. And I mentioned it because Miss
So,
Fatia comes with misinformation.
hello.
Yeah, go ahead. Who's it?
So that's a very important point that you just made, and that is part of the ongoing awareness and conversation that we do have, because that's the first thing that women human rights defenders, feminists, that's the same backlash and the same sexism, misogyny that we face when we start first to speak out, right? And then people come at you and with the whole intent to shut you down, or and sometimes they come from a place of ignorance, not understanding the issue, not knowing. And I do agree with you. There are times where you seize the opportunity as a teaching movement to be able to explain why it is wrong for anyone to come under such attack. And there are times where those circumstances do not call for teaching movement. They not call for teaching movements because we tend to really look at the situation, because if you engage, most instances right there and then it becomes confrontational, and you realize that the information or the awareness that you're trying to provide, the person might not take it kindly and might not be internalized. But that is the awareness that we do. So when we go into communities, for example, to talk about, just give example on women's political participation. So you go in the community to encourage women to talk about why it's important for men and women to lead equally, to have equal representation. The first thing, people will have 105 reasons why they cannot vote for a woman, and most of the people that will be saying this to you will be women. You have to now be able to provide the information that this is from a rights perspective. Representation is, everybody should be able to be represented, and you give all the benefits, right? And then you create all the awareness around talking about the qualification, the person ability to deliver, the belief in respect for human rights and all of those things. But it's part of the awareness that we do. At times, you see people make specific comments, and you go in to provide clarification, the education, but you also have to be sensitive to the atmosphere at the time to be able to detect whether or not it's a teaching moment, whether the person is in a position to get your feedback, to receive it in a positive manner, and all of that. But because we've tried different ways, I believe at the community level and online, there have been different debates online and conversation going on. I think that's why we have we're not there yet, but we see a lot of change in minds happening, though sometimes it's very difficult to sustain, because today you will see somebody standing up and speaking up against a particular form of human rights violation or abuse, and the next minute they're talking about something else, and then they'll come to justify and say, oh, I can speak about that issue, but I can speak about this issue. So it becomes very difficult, and sometimes we also try to, even in our own midst as rights activists, to say there's one thing to be human rights women's rights advocate, and there's another thing to be feminist. Because for us feminists, we know that there's no if no but about where we stand in speaking up for rights. We cut across all boundaries, and someone will say to you, I'm a women's rights activist. I can only talk about women's right to health, to education, but for example, I cannot include issues around the right of sex workers. And then you step back and say, okay, but there's a right issue there. So can we look at the rights and not about whether you believe or what your religion, your belief system, your tradition calls for? So there's a thin line in between there, but it's part of the ongoing work that we do. And it's difficult
Yeah,
as well to be able to meet people at the point you want them to be, but it's ongoing. Yeah, it's ongoing.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Miss Fatia. I agree with you. It's ongoing. We'll continue. And you made a really great point. Like you got to be able to discern when it's a teaching moment and when uh uh it's a moment that could turn into confrontation or just turn someone off, or they may not accept or get internalize what you were trying to pass on. So yeah, I agree with you. And I try to do that as well. There are some of the times, you got to be like, yeah, this is not a wise use of my time. When you got to gauge the moment, the atmosphere. So yeah, I agree with you. So we can be doing that too with our relatives, our friends, and ourselves, even ourselves. We all have internalized the patriarchy in a way that we can be sexist as well. Like you know you I mean, there are just a lot of things that sometimes you catch yourself, you say, can you imagine who, and I'm thinking this is only a man can be good at this and not me. So yeah, it's a work in progress, for that shift to sink in. Let me somebody, Mrs. Gallo, had she said, how do we build movement using digital age and taking into consideration our sisters who cannot read and write? How do we include them? That was the question I was asking from the beginning. How do we share when someone said, and then the ladies share with them, so that we could name the form of sharing we do? Is it like through focus group discussion? Is it like through town hall meeting? That's where I was going with that question. So maybe now would be the time to maybe name one or two methods. How do we go about doing this so that because it's not our intention to leave anyone behind. I know it is not our intention. I just so the audience maybe can know, how do we, as we make use of the digital age, how are we taking everyone along, people who can read and write, again, like my grandmother in Bagleyville, how do we include them?
So, quickly before we move on to that, I just want to shortly comment or buttress what Vasia was saying. So, there are some of us women rights activists, even some of us feminists, that personally do these things. A lot of us are on social media. We do cyberbullying within a space. We do cyberbullying of other women within a space. We undermine other women. We see other women as competitors instead of building that kind of supportive environment to help them. We don't want other women to lead us. It's always in our spaces. So one of the ways we can solve these things is to personally look at ourselves, evaluate ourselves, reflect on our own actions towards one another. So over the years, for me, I've reflected a lot, and I pledged over the years. It has been working for me not to get involved in cyberbullying when it comes to other women, not just women, but to stop cyberbullying and work in a space of other women, coexist, be tolerant, and be able to support women when they are in leadership instead of seeing them as competitors. So we need to reflect on our own selves. What are our own actions before we can even go out there to be able to pass these messages to other people? We should be an example of what we want to see. So I just wanted to add that.
So awesome. Thank you. I agree with you. Wow. uh like I made a pledge to myself not to get involved in cyberbullying. That's a good one. Patience, I'm going to, I mean, I don't like to do, I don't do cyberbullying. Let me say, I don't like to, like, sometimes I have to. I don't think I actively do it. If I have, but no, I don't think I do it. But to consciously make that pledge and say, I am not going to get engaged in it. I think that's a good point. Thank you for sharing that. And I agree with you. You may not support me, because I don't expect every woman to support the other woman just because she's a woman. We have things that we don't believe, we don't agree on, not because we share the same gender, but I'm not going to attack. Let's not even let's not engage in cyberbullying. So yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so again, to the question, how do we include those women who cannot read and write? What have we done? What are we doing? How is it working out? Is it working out? What are we doing at those levels with the women who cannot read and write? Does somebody want to attempt that question?
So for our sisters that can read and write, how do we make them fit into this digital age? Um, I think that's why we're talking about this intergenerational conversation. I think we need it. In every community, we need to we need to encourage the young. That's where even the mentor comes in. So mentoring, that's where we said it was also the teamwork where you learn from me and I learn from you. So but quickly, let me just say something that our people did at the community level. While we're talking about it, um technology, but our people at the community level, they got this common way of sending message just within a meaning. Everyone will like grab, all we need will grab the message. So for example, if it was some danger for a woman and they wanted the other women to gather in a square, you could take a red cloth, put it on a stick and pull it up. So when the other women from the other quarter saw that red cloth, they immediately, whatever you do as a woman, you will leave it and run to the square, meaning they wanted to see all of the women. We also need to even identify what are those tools they're depending on to communicate with each other. Because in Liberia, it's a difficult thing. It's challenging to just say we will just move into it very quickly. But how do we identify the existing one already that they have that making communication effective, that making movement to be effective, and then we can now say okay, we're moving from here to here, but which one we can use right now? For me, that's what I want to say. Thank you. That's something.
Thank you, Auntie Baba. Thank you. Anyone else wants to share how are we engaging people who have different ability? Um, this I learned in my disability etiquette class. Not just yeah. So people who have different ability from me. So people who have different ability from some of us who can read and write. How are we including them?
I think that's a big question. And first, I will start from Cecilia question to say that over the years there have been several ways that we do engage people who don't read and write. But again, as Ede Baba was saying, it was unique in a unique way, and we are even seeing it now in our different chat rooms. Sometimes you post information you are organizing, and the next moment you don't want other people to know, but the next moment people screenshot and people share the information, and then before you get out there, all of the information that you are should not be out there is already out there. So how
Mhm.
do we learn from how Intervaba and the Syrian communicated in a very unique way to say we're not using red flag again. Can we use something else? So that's why we want to come together and bring all of these thoughts. So if we're not using red flag, now we have cell phone. Should we say that if I beep you twice or I beep you 4 5 times, it means something? Or should I just send a letter? If you see this letter, it means something. So that's one of the conversation we are having now. How can we learn from the older generation? They were not cell phone, but they had unique way and effective way of communicating. How can we bring it now to the now that we have technology, how can we modify it? I think that's the conversation we start to have. But over the years, I know one thing that it views is a lot of graphics. So we have short videos and with graphics that will explain the different processes. So, for example, we have the national referral pathway for SGPV, even though they still have ratings there, but if you see police station, they draw the police station with a unique feature. And then you have the nurses with also a unique feature to say when this happened, this is where you go, this where you go is there. Though it's not in a rural part of it, but it's something that we really need to think about. How can we do it in an effective way that it goes a long way, but it is something that we need to look at. The issue about people with different abilities is we know we continue having the conversation. I know we've tried over the years to meet some of them, but I'm not too sure we've been able to tick all of the boxes. But these are all questions that we can use because we also have women with disability with different abilities that are part of the movement. How do we ensure that they are not left behind and they also have the different information? So it's something that we can put down on our list or how we can improve to ensure that we meet everyone and don't leave anyone behind. I want to say something a little bit about the issue about how do we talk about the whole issue unpacking feminism, unpacking patriarchy. As part of our strategic plan, we have a component we call feminist knowledge production, and it's just intended to unpack feminism because yeah, feminism is a lot. Even for some of us, we may not reach a particular stage to really talk about some of the things. So we have what we call our feminist 101. We're hoping like we could develop it into a course. But feminist 101 is mainly just saying what feminism is about, what are the different ideas, different what is it all about? I will say feminism, what is it all about? We've been able to work with young girls, we've been able to work with women's rights activists to say this is what feminism is. We are hoping to expand on it because I know that over the year before when we started elaborate feminist forum in 2014, 2015, women who were even active in the women's rights movement, they now want to identify themselves as feminists. But over the years, with the different engagement, and we have been consistent. Um, right now in Liberia, almost all of the women, almost everyone is now a feminist. Everyone, even the
Hey.
men, feminists, I'm a feminist, I'm a feminist. Some understand the clarity, some don't. So that our engagement has contributed to that. We can claim, oh, but it has contributed to that. At least people able to say I'm a feminist now.
Hmm.
That's consider
Hmm.
that as success. So the next stage now is to really unpack it. So if I say I'm a feminist, what does it mean? And I will we will link up with you. I like the conversation that uh um I like the conversation that the invitation that you gave us that we could work on it together. And because it's really important to talk about and provide that clarity so that people will not see us as people who hate men or people who fighting or people who are not respectful in the society, but to be able to provide that clarity for individuals and for organizations so that we also learn and then we strengthen our engagement in terms of engagement around women's rights issues. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Archer. That's a good idea. Hopefully, I know we're all really busy and the time difference, but hopefully we plan better for the next time and organize to be much more effective. But I know that yeah, there will be challenges at the beginning, but it's good that we're thinking about combining resources and knowledge and experiences and and platforms and ideas. So yeah, great. um so says got to say, and also what it is not, bursting the myths. I think she was adding to buttressing you on Asha when you talk about feminism 101, telling people what feminism is. And it's also good to be able to burst the myth, as she put it, tell people what it isn't. Um, because most of the time, people tend to see it as, yeah, man hating, mensengery, or mehendry, how they refer to it. But it's good that we'll have these kind of initiatives. We're thinking about them. Uh, uh, because honestly, sometimes, uh, like the beginning of March, I did a whole preparation to present on misogynism, that the world that we live in hates women. Um, and the world does hate women. But that's another conversation for another day. It may not be individual men hating us, but systems, structures, practices, values that form our perception of ourselves as women, and of how the world perceive us. It's not organic, So how to work against that so that we can unlearn that. Like Patience said, think about ourselves, reflect on what we think about. We do that every day. Even people who love you, even your own sisters, even yourself, So we need to be examining our own thoughts. My friend came to visit me the other day, and then she's leaving. Her car is big. This big Jeep. She had it packed. When she got here, she packed. There was a free space, but then when I walked her to my parking, another big car just squeezed her. So two cars sandwiched her, and she kept going around. I'm standing there talking. I'm following her. I didn't know what she was doing. Then finally, I said, "What are you looking for?" She said, "I'm trying to see whether there is a guy who will be leaving your compound." So that I said, "For what?" She said, "So that I can ask him to move my car, to take my key and move my car back." And I'm like, "Okay, why would you want to do that?" She like, "Because I don't know how to get a car from out of this space, and I don't want to hit anyone." And I started thinking, but right, yeah. So I said, "Oh, okay, give me a key, let me do it." But she wouldn't. We went around for like 15 minutes. I'm like, "Will you give me the key? Let me move the car." So the thinking, so she finally reluctantly, um, and then she was there directing me. Yeah, do like that. I said, "You woman, just relax." And so I got a car out of the space. Then she said, "Oh, so you can do it." I said, "So what you're looking for, man?" She said, "Because they are good with cars." So we started laughing and say, we do these things, and then we say, well, we should be seen as equal. But it's not your fault, because I do that in a lot of way. This lady who teaches diversity for Google, and she shared experience like that, getting on a plane and being excited that there was a female pilot. But then she said we got to a place where we're turbulent, and then she started worrying whether the lady will be able to maneuver, whether they will land safely. She wished it was a guy. She said after that crisis, when they something stabilized, then she caught herself. She said, "I'm going right now. I'm going to a conference to teach about diversity and respecting women." And my first thought was that I didn't feel safe because a female pilot was the one flying the plane. So I agree with Patience that we all need to examine our everyday thoughts, because we breathe patriarchy. Hey, we inhale misogyny every day. Um, so yeah, let me just read these comments, and then we can give our final comments to wrap up for the day. Cisco to say very important information management from the perspective of security and safety. I think she was responding to something someone was saying. Very important information management from the perspective of security and safety. Um, T. Ofina Fode says, "Well done, sisters. Well done, sisters. Thank you, T. Ofina. Um, Mrs. Gallo say, goodbye, sisters. Thanks for the excellent conversation. The more we talk about ills in our society, the more people get aware. Sending you blessings. Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Gallo. Um, oh, okay, I read this one. Um, exactly, Priscilla. Systems are built to honor my women's right. Yeah, yeah. Sis got to things didn't just fall into place and became like this, like we're supposed to believe. And then this male god just decided to put his friend men in charge. But hey, this is not a place that, that I talk about religion and God is a male and that. So I don't want to bring all of that. But my point is that no, this is not organic. This is human being. And those human beings mainly were the ones that are benefiting from the setup. Who are they? Of course, we all know. So yeah, we will have to be having conversations like these. Our new day is about changing minds and attitude. And I'm so glad that all of us are doing it in our own ways at the levels that we are, in our own corners, through the organizations we're connected to, and hopefully we can continue to engage and harness our resources and our expertise and our strength, and together we can make a much more bigger impact. So yeah, thank you for coming on today. I'm going to just go around so that we can make our final statement so that we can wrap up on this conversation. So Auntie Vaba, do you want to go ahead, be the first to close us? What is it that uh, we didn't talk about you want to mention, or something that we mentioned and you want to hone home with it as we close for the day? Place a little emphasis. It's up to you. Just send us home with your last comments, please.
So I'm from the community. I'm going to close up with the community because I believe in community's power. So much power in a community, so much resources at a community level. So if we want to succeed in doing whatever we're doing as women, building a strong movement, we need to come to the community. These community chair, these women that serve as chairpersons in this community, they are very strong. They got some ideas. We need to grab onto them. We also need to support them because what happened at the community level, we're not saying it. And at the community level, bulk of the troubles are also at the community level. And at the community level, the power, we got more power at the community level. So let's include the community. Let's engage the community women. Let us have dialogue with the community women. Let us make sure the community women identify their own power. Let them be the one to run their own boat. So I want to thank you for this time, and I hope we can continue with this kind of conversation with more young women on board. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie Vaba. I agree with you. Sis Scott say true Vaba flow more from the ground up. I agree with you. I was reading on women leadership, and that was one of the emphasis that the women leaders, the people you're working for or serving, are these women, in the communities. The work you're doing impact their lives, so they should be involved. So yeah, I agree with you. Thank you for sending us home with that perspective. And Ciscoto just portrays that from the ground up. I like that, from the ground up. um Patience, do you want to give us your parting comment? Is there something you want to say? Patience, if you're there, we didn't lose you, did we? I think we lost her. Um, Asha, you want to go?
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Priscilla, for accepting our invitation. And I
Of
can
course.
see that we are moving to a stronger partnership as we move along. Yeah, I want
We'll
to
find
say
our bearing.
that
Sorry, I was saying we'll find our bearing little by little. Don't worry.
yes,
I know it started rocky, but we'll find our bearing. Go ahead.
yes, yes. Yeah, I want to agree with everyone that the technology or our digital age has improved and shifted a lot of things in terms of connecting with people, in terms of mobilizing and organizing at different levels. It has improved. However, we still have challenges, starting from access to even smartphones, access to data, um, and then looking at the issue about security, cyberbullying, and look, like Fasia mentioned, is safeguarding issues. So there are a lot of good things, but there are also we still have challenges in giving the way Liberia is structured. We still we haven't gotten halfway yet, but I know we are there. And I know that with the momentum, we are able to utilize what we have to reach out to everyone. And this conversation is part of our own part of our activity in observing International Women's Day, and we're
Okay.
hoping that we can continue the conversation beyond beyond this
Today.
yes. And there are
Okay.
key learnings from here, and I'm also going to take on to the forum and other groups that we have around. And I want to end by saying that there's a lot that we can learn from the older generation in terms
Yeah.
of the way they did their own organizing. There are a lot we can learn. And Ede Baba, I agree with you. The mentoring is about partnership as well. It's about respecting from both sides. So as we go along, we are really hoping that we can have like maybe like a formal program that we can all learn from each other and make the movement stronger. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Asha. I agree with you. Patience, you're back. So we giving our final comments or statements. So if you want to go ahead and let us know, is there something that you wanted to mention we did not, or you want to emphasize on that we just mentioned in passing, or
Um,
anything?
nothing much. We've said everything. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to being a part of such conversation any other time.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then lastly, we have Miss Facia. Miss Facia, you want to send us home? Is tell us if we
Thank
didn't
you.
lose.
Thank you. It was a beautiful conversation today. This technology, they got to, they got problem with me. It was so bad connecting from my end, but most of the part that I listened to, the sisters really delve into the matter. Thank you for having us as we observe International Women's Day or Women's Month, and to say that our issues are present, they're relevant, and there are a lot of challenges that we continue to face in fighting for equality for women's rights. But there are a lot of gains that we can look back to and say we've come so far. And because we've come so far, that's the hope and courage that we have to continue fighting to ensure that we realize our full rights as women and as people. In terms of the topic for today, technology is very good because of the growing wave of technology. We've been able, as a movement, to reach a lot more people, but we need, like I mentioned, need to take everyone along with us, and that will call for investment in technology, ensuring that they're gender friendly, they're usable across diversities, and also investing in education, because once we have a more educated population and we have the growing way of technology, we can be able to navigate together the different apps and use them to promote the different rights that we are fighting for. And as we are continuing to use technology in as part of movement building, we should also invest in, as he says, Koto, writing, in terms of the cyberbullying. A lot happening. There are a lot of depression. There are a lot of bullying taking place online that are meant to silence people. So it would be good to invest in security, cyberbullying, and also to have some laws around it. Especially in Liberia, we don't have direct laws. I'm in since I started practice, I've come across few cases, right, that have gone before the court, and it has to do
Good,
around
good,
cyberbullying. And even
good.
legal practitioners are finding it difficult even to help people prosecute those cases through the courts. So it also be good for us to see how we can extend conversation and advocacy around laws that will be clear on the book to protect women's rights advocates, human rights defenders, and anybody who may fall prey to cyberbullying, because people kill themselves, people shy away from speaking out and doing a lot of things online, which is one of the most easier way now to get messages across because of cyberbullying. So I think as we grow with technology, it will also be it's also good enough for us to invest in bringing the population, bringing the different communities along with us, empowering them to know how to use these technologies, how they can access it to be able to benefit them in their communities. So thank you, everybody, and we keep fighting. We keep, doing what we are called to do, and hoping that we be able to, yeah, reap the success together as a people. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you to Ms. Fasia, and totally, I agree with Sis Cotto and you. We don't even have cybercrime laws. And again, I was part of this conversation and presentation, and then the presenter was talking about the same kind of attitude we take in the physical space. That's what we take online, where a woman get raped, and then we say, but she just don't go. You know what? Just do not go anywhere. It's the same thing. That's just lazy approach that again, because we've internalized the patriarchy and misogyny, which is just this unfair prejudice against women. So a woman is attacked online, and then we're like, just don't go online, because the focus is not on doing something about the perpetrator, but about controlling women. And doing that is denying us to live free. So there should be laws to make cyberspace safe for everyone, um, instead of curtailing women engagement online. And media institutions, organizations are also being called to book and say, hey, when a female journalist is attacked, the institution, instead of saying, don't read the comments, uh, should be able to stand behind this reporter. And just a lot of different conversations happening around this subject of cyberbullying. Instead of telling women, okay, then just don't use this space, and because it has mental health implications, and the tendency to just for people to harm, to self harm, to harm themselves. And I don't know what I should call this self harm, but because you prompted her by attacking her, so we'll continue in our everyday, daily lives and engagement. A year or two ago, I think, or 2 years ago, I called Seattle because I was so angry about the video circulating about a lady, and I'm like, hey, what can we do to make sure we sue this particular person? And, because I called the person privately and tried to talk to them, and then they were like, they shaming the guy, and I'm like, but the guy is not in the video, so you're shaming a girl. So it's wrong. But that's why people should not be making no kind of video as because it's going to get in it wrong. Because I was like, she made it for her lover, so it shouldn't be passed around. But yeah, that's why you shouldn't make the kind of, because when the person get mad, I say, otherwise then we're not drive car, because that's why you should not even ride car, because you have accident. No, We cannot be constraining women because we're going to be bad. So the burden is on us. So I called her, and then I was really upset about that. I remember a few years ago the same thing happened, and my baby son was just about 5 or 6. He came and started lecturing me about this. I don't want to say her name, but it happened when she was at Stella Maris and something like that, and she had to run away from Liberia. And that little child was explaining to me what he heard from Sister Mary Lorraine was like it was called consent. They went to Stella Maria and say, Sister should expel the girl, and Sister had to explain to us, no, the girl is 24 and was consent between she and the boyfriend. He's 38. He betrayed her trust. So the public should be focusing on his behavior. So there are just a lot of forms and ways in which you know the world is just unfair to women and girls. And this other new space that we're all supposed to be excited about, the digital age, that is some of the way they try to silence women and girls. So we'll continue to engage and figure out ways to make the world safe for all of us. So your thank you for spending your Sunday for us to talk like this. And thanks to listeners and audience as well. You can share this in your own spaces. I do that as well in my own network. And hopefully the word gets around. And yeah, we engage more for a new day. So talk to you next time. And as we end the month of March, happy Women's Month. Hopefully, a war went out. Like the church people can say, one soul was won, heaven rejoiced. If the entire month of March, if it is this conversation or the one we had before, or something we did off this platform, maybe in our personal life, if somebody mind was transformed, renewed, somebody had a rethink about the way they look at women and girls issues, at least we achieved something. So y'all, thank you, ladies, for staying with us this Sunday. It's a new day. God bless you. Goodbye.
We
Thank you.
are
Bye.
Labira is our home. Labira people. Ile yurete awiwa. Labira oh. Ile yurete awiwa. Labira. Ah, oh,